Dude, it's the 4th of July, and I think all I got here is stuff that's over 99 years old because there's probably some sort of copyright fucking infringement shit going on, and somebody else will come up with an excuse to say that they got some fucking entitlement to whatever I would say or do because ever since I was a little fucking kid, it was okay to make commercial products out of my fucking life and give them to somebody else. So we are less than 30 seconds in. I'm gonna give myself 10 minutes. I got 3 cases, that's all I got. Maybe I can do it in under 10 minutes. Cold calling. I've only read through one of them, read through the first couple of pages. It was definitely very instructive. What can I find? First of all, page 1425. Let's go. Let's see what we can find here. How long is it going to take me to flip through the damn book? VAZ Bank versus Fenno, 8 Wall, 533, 1869. Mr. Chief Justice Chase. There was a Chief Justice named Chase that fucking wrote an opinion about the goddamn banking system? You gotta be kidding me. Oh my god. Really? Okay, let's see what we got. Okay. Oh my god, they're talking about capitation. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, here we go. This might help me. We are obliged, therefore, to resort to historical evidence and to seek the meaning of the words in the use and in the opinion of those whose relations to the government and means of knowledge warranted them in speaking with authority. All right. And considered in this light, the meaning and application of the rule as to direct taxes appears to us quite clear. It is, as we think, distinctly shown in every act of Congress on the subject. Please keep in mind that this is from, where's this from? 1869. A lot's changed since then. See what we got here. I see, it might be rightfully affirmed, therefore, that in the practical construction of the Constitution by Congress, direct taxes have been limited to taxes on land and appurtenances and taxes on polls or capitation taxes. Those are the limits of the taxations. What he's saying, been limited to. He's not saying these are considered to be priority or you can risk weight them over here or if you need to, these are available for the waivers at this rate. That's not what he said. I'm just letting you know. All right. Okay, well, wait. It follows necessarily that the power to tax without apportionment extends to all other objects. Taxes on other objects are included under the heads of taxes not direct, duties, imposts, and excises, and must be laid and collected by the rule of uniformity. The tax under consideration is a tax on bank circulation and may very well be classed under the head of duties. Certainly it is not, in the sense of the Constitution, a direct tax. It may be said to come within the same category of taxation as the tax on incomes of insurance companies. Ooh! Which this court, at the last term, in the case of Pacific Insurance Company versus Sewell, held not to be a direct tax. It is, then, a tax on a franchise granted by a state, which Congress, upon any principle exempting the reserved powers of the states from impairment by taxation, must be held to have no authority to lay the collect? This is the question. We do not say that there may not be such a tax. It may be admitted that the reserved rights of the states, such as the right to pass laws, to give effect to laws through executive action, to administer justice through the courts, and to employ all necessary agencies for legitimate purposes of state government, are not proper subjects of the taxing power of Congress. But it cannot be admitted that franchises granted by a state are necessarily exempt from taxation. For franchises are property, often very valuable and productive property, and when not conferred for the purpose of giving effect to some reserved power of a state, seem to be as properly objects of taxation as any other property. But in the case before us, the object of taxation is not the franchise of the bank, but property created or contracts made and issued under the franchise, or power to issue bank bills. A railroad company, in the exercise of its corporate franchises, issues freight receipts, bills of lading, and passenger tickets, and it cannot be doubted that the organization of the railroads is quite as important to the state as the organization of banks. But it will hardly be questioned that these contracts in the company are objects of taxation within the powers of Congress, and not exempted by any relation to the state which granted the charter of the railroad. And it seems difficult to distinguish the taxation of notes issued for circulation from the taxation of these railroad contracts. But descriptions of contracts are means of profit to the corporations which issue them, and both, as we think, may properly be made contributory to the public revenue. It is insisted, however, that the tax in the case before us is excessive, and so excessive as to indicate a purpose on the part of Congress to destroy the franchise of the bank, and is, therefore, beyond the constitutional power of Congress. But there is another answer which vindicates equally the wisdom and the power of Congress. It cannot be doubted that under the Constitution the power to provide a circulation of coin is given to Congress, and it is settled by the uniform practice of the government and by repeated decisions that Congress may constitutionally authorize the emission of bills of credit. It is not important here to decide whether the quality of legal tender and payment of debts can be constitutionally imparted to these bills. It is enough to say that there can be no question of the power of the government to emit them, to make them receivable in payment of debts to itself, to fit them for use of those who see fit to use them in all the transactions of commerce, to provide for their redemption, to make them a currency uniform in value and description, and convenient and useful for circulation. These powers, until recently, were only partially and occasionally exercised. Lately, however, they have been called into full activity, and Congress has undertaken to supply a currency for the entire country. The methods adopted for the supply of this currency were briefly explained in the first part of this opinion. It now consists of coin, of United States notes, and of the notes of the national banks. Both descriptions of notes may be properly described as bills of credit, for both are furnished by the government. Both are issued on the credit of the government, and the government is responsible for the redemption of both, primarily as to the first description and immediately upon default of the bank as to the second. When these bills shall be made convertible into coin at the will of the holder, this currency will perhaps satisfy the wants of the community in respect to a circulating medium as perfectly as any mixed currency that can be devised. Having thus in the exercise of undisputed constitutional powers undertaken to provide a currency for the whole country, it cannot be questioned that Congress may constitutionally secure the benefit of it to the people by appropriate legislation. To this end, Congress had denied the quality of legal tender to foreign coins, and has provided by law against the imposition of counterfeit and base coin on the community. To the same end, Congress may restrain, by suitable enactments, the circulation as money of any notes not issued under its own authority. Without this power, indeed, its attempts to secure a sound and uniform currency for the country must be futile. Viewed in this light, as well as in the other light of a duty on contracts or property, we cannot doubt the constitutionality of the tax under consideration. The three questions certified from the Circuit Court of the District of Maine, therefore, be answered affirmatively. So, my understanding is, in terms of addressing this constitutionally, it must be considered that if it is under, as they say, appropriate legislation by Congress, then that legislation has to itself adhere to constitutional standards. If the legislation being proposed and or enacted is itself unconstitutional, then the actions have no authority, are unconstitutional, and that means that any notes or tender, including those that would be sought for conversion into a currency ostensibly to cover any of the debts of the government, would be invalid. A. B. The second question comes from, who is the government, and under what authority do those working as agents of the government purport themselves to speak on behalf of the people of the United States as the government? They are not qualified to represent themselves as government agents if they are in violation of the Constitution. And secondly, And has Congress has denied the quality of legal tender to foreign coins and has provided by law against the imposition of counterfeit and base coin on the community. If you try to take somebody's likeness and image, see, by the time frame I would have been cut off. If you steal somebody's photos, if you steal somebody's biometric accounts, if you steal somebody's work products and try to use them in order to pay your debts, that's called counterfeit. It's unconstitutional. And according to, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Mr. Chief Justice Chase. In 1869, you already knew better.